Hi guys, so today I just wanted to make a quick video showing you 5 Logic Pro settings you can change right now. These are 5 things I wish I knew as a producer starting out in Logic Pro, but equally if you're an experienced Logic Pro user, hopefully you'll still be able to find something useful in here. Okay, so the first tip is a super simple one, and it's to enable the mixer in the undo function. So if you didn't know, you can bring up the mixer by just pressing the X button. And obviously, if you've used Logic before, you'll know this is where you make changes to the volume of each element and other things like panning. So by default in Logic, the undo function is not included in the mixer. And I found this quite frustrating at times because often when you're trying to get the balance and the volume of each individual element to a correct level, you'll make lots of little changes. And sometimes you'll want to go back on those changes. And by default, you can't press Ctrl Z or use undo to do this. But it's actually really easy to switch on, so you can undo any changes you make in the mixer. It's actually really easy to enable. All you have to do is come up to the edit menu here, click undo history, and turn on the mixer function. From then onwards, any changes you make to your mixer in terms of like panning or just the volume of any elements will automatically be covered by the undo function, so you can go back on those changes really easily. So the next tip is another simple one, but one that I found really useful, and that's to enable snap to grid for automation. Now, by default in Logic, your automation will not be snapped to any grid. So if you're trying to like find a good position, it's kind of just lands wherever you leave it. And that can sometimes make it quite tricky to line up your automation to begin and to end exactly where you want it to. Now, don't get me wrong, it can be really useful sometimes to be able to exactly time where it's landing. But for me and the type of music I make, which is electronic and house music, I often want the automation to be snapped perfectly on the grid, for example, when a drop comes in or at the end of a build-up. And again, there's a really easy way to enable this. All you have to do is come up to the snap menu, open it, go to snap automation and make sure that it's set to active. And from then on, your automation will automatically snap to specific points in the grid, making it much easier to kind of ensure that your automation is happening exactly where you want it to in your track. Now this next one is more of like a personal one that I enabled and I found really useful, but it's just adding your own keyboard shortcuts to functions that you use really often. For me, one of the functions I use most is the mute region function, and this allows you to quickly mute any region you want specifically. So you can just click a region and just mute it like that. This is really helpful when you're trying to decide which elements to include in certain parts of your productions, and it's really easy to enable. All you have to do is come up here, click on the Logic Pro menu, go down to key commands, go down to edit assignments, and then search for mute, and it should bring up the one I'm after, which is mute notes, regions, cells, folders on off. You just click on it and you can just type your own keyboard shortcut that you want. Personally, I went for M, so I just know that whenever I want to mute a region, you just hit the letter M on your keyboard, which is really useful. And yeah, it just enables you to kind of mute and unmute things really easily when you're producing your music. And obviously you can go far beyond the mute regions function. You can set up your own shortcuts for other functions that you use often via the same method I just showed you. Now my fourth tip is to enable the advanced LCD display. The LCD display is this bit here at the top of your project, which shows you the bars and the beats you're on and the tempo of the project. But by default, I found that it didn't show enough information for my liking. So I've customized my own advanced LCD display to show what I wanted. It looks like this. And as you can see, it shows a bit more than the other one. It shows like the time as well as the bars you're in. It shows the project tempo, but what's actually also really cool is it shows you what notes you're playing. So if you've got a keyboard, it will show you which note you're playing. If you're playing a chord, it will show you what chord that is. And I just found that really useful when producing my music. So again, the way to enable this is very simple. You just click on this drop down here and you go to customize control bar and display. And you basically just select all of the things you want within your LCD display. These are the ones I've gone for. There might be other ones that you kind of want to have to be able to look at all the time. So yeah, once you're fully happy with it, all you have to do is click Save as Default. And by default now, this will be the LCD display that's shown in your projects moving forwards. So my final tip is to relocate your sound library to an external drive. Now by default, the sound library within Logic is saved to your computer's main hard drive, but there are a few reasons why you might want to move it to an external drive, like an SSD drive like I have. One of the reasons is that it's generally a bit faster. So when you have your sound library saved on an external drive, which is quite fast, it allows Logic to work a bit quicker and everything's just a bit faster. So that's one of the main reasons to do it, to be honest with you. The other one is, of course, to just free up space on your main computer and just maybe have a separate SSD drive or separate hard drive for your music stuff. Relocating the sound library is really simple. All you have to do is click up here, click on Logic Pro, go down to Sound Library, open that menu, go down to Relocate Sound Library, and then once it's done all this, you can relocate to any external drive that you want. At the moment I can't do that because that's where mine already is, but what you would do is just click on it and then click relocate, and then Logic will take care of the rest. So there we go, guys. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any of your own Logic Pro tips or hacks that you'd like to share, please do put them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.